a very big fish. Today's story is one of the best known in all the Bible. It is also one of the most amazing stories ever, and it really happened many hundreds of years ago, even before Jesus was born. It's about a man called Jonah. He was a prophet of God. This means that God gave him messages to pass on to people. In this case, God gave Jonah a message for the people who lived in the city of Nineveh. It was a place many, many miles away, and the people who lived there were famous for being wicked and cruel. It's easy for us to understand how Jonah really didn't want to go there. He didn't want to tell them that God was willing to forgive them if they stopped being wicked. He decided he'd run away from God instead. Reaching the port, he found a ship that would sail in the opposite direction. That suited Jonah very much. Off he sailed, thinking he could hide from God. Silly man. Not long after, a furious storm broke out. It was so bad that the sailors on board the ship were sure they were all going to drown. They felt that God must be angry for some reason. They asked Jonah about it. Jonah was sure by now that it was his fault for running away. He should have obeyed God. He told the men to throw him overboard. He was convinced the storm would then stop and the sailors would be safe. But the sailors were good men. They didn't want to kill Jonah. If they threw him overboard, he was sure to drown. But Jonah said that this was the only way for the storm to stop. After a while, they agreed, but not before asking God to forgive them for killing a man. And so Jonah was thrown into the raging sea. At once, the storm stopped, the winds died down, and the sea became calm. The sailors were amazed. They realized that the God of Jonah was really the true and living God, and they worshipped him. Meanwhile, Jonah sank deeper and deeper until he got to the bottom amongst the seaweed. He was sure he was going to die. This was the end. But suddenly a huge fish came along and swallowed Jonah. Wonderfully, he could breathe inside it. This big fish swam for 3 days and nights till it came to a shore. It was the one nearest to Nineveh. There the fish spewed Jonah out onto dry land. He was safe. And while he had been inside the fish, he had prayed to God. He told God he was sorry for running away, and now he was ready to do what he was told. And here he was, not far away from the very city, and once he arrived there, he walked around it, giving all the people God's message. And surprising as it was, the king and all his people repented and said sorry to God. From now on, they would not be cruel and wicked. They would live to please God instead. So once again, we see how merciful and kind God is. He forgave all the people in Nineveh, and he forgave Jonah. It must have been awful living inside the belly of a fish for 3 days. But without that fish, Jonah would surely have drowned. In fact, the fish was just like a rescue submarine. God loves all people, and as he rescued Jonah, he's willing to rescue us too. and not with a very big fish. No, indeed. God the Father paid a huge price by giving up his Son to a cruel cross that he might rescue us. What about that?
We believe in Hebrews 13:8. Jesus Christ is never out of date. Yesterday or today or forevermore, Jesus stays the same, and that is great. We are thrilled with Hebrews 13:8. Jesus Christ is never out of date. Yesterday or today or forevermore, Jesus stays the same, and that is great.